There's something afoot, and it's murder. Don't worry, it's not me who's being murdered. Actually, I'm talking about a murder that happened in 1793. The victim's name was Jean-Paul Marat. What? You've never heard of him? Okay, well, here's a picture of him. Actually, it's a picture of his death. It was painted by Louis David in Paris, France. Before we get to know Marat, we need to know about two other gentlemen. The first being King Louis XIV. His reign lasted from 1643 to 1750, and his reign is considered one of the longest absolute monarchs in Europe. He built this, which had this, and a whole lot of this. King Louis XIV called himself the Sun King. He was extravagant in his spending. You can tell that Versailles was not for protecting him, but more for giving him a certain way of life. His grandson, King Louis XVI, the second gentleman we're talking about, reigned from 1774 to 1792. This is the guy that was married to Marie Antoinette. This couple was known for also spending quite a bit of money. And if you know anything about your French history, you know that his reign ended rather quickly and tragically. So during this time, the later years of King Louis XVI's reign, you had this kind of uprising of the people. There were many groups who didn't like the monarchs, didn't like the aristocrats, and so they uprised and they caused the French Revolution, and people would take over and form a government, and then another group would come in and form another government, and this time was so turbulent, the French called it the Terror. On a side note, if you want to know more about the French Revolution, pick up the book Les Miserables. I'm in the process of reading it, meaning that it just sits there in kind of a mocking tone staring at me. But if you don't want to read, there's also a version of the book coming out on film on Christmas Day. It's going to be spectacular. It's the musical version. I've seen the musical 3 times. I love it. So definitely go see that. Back to Magritte. He was born May 24th, 1743 in Switzerland, and then died July 13th, 1793. He was a doctor in London and then went to France and was appointed physician of the guards of Charles X, brother of King Louis, and he was a scientist and an author throughout his life. During this time of the Terror, Magritte was part of the Montagnard, which is a kind of a schism off of the Jacobin party, and he spoke of the aristocracy in a way that made him fit right in with men and women who felt they were being mistreated by their government. So who murdered him? Introducing Charlotte Corday, part of the Federalist movement. She was assigned the task of assassinating Magritte. She went into his room and found him in the bath. Magritte suffered from a skin condition which caused him to spend a lot of time in the bath. She gave him a letter concerning the revolution, and she stabbed him in the bath. She didn't even flee. They found her and then tried her and executed her. She was really, really not into this guy. Here's Charlotte Corday being pictured by Baudry in 1860 and Munch in 1907. Back to the original painting by Louis David. It was painted in 1793, and it's titled The Death of Marat. This painting, unlike the others, wasn't about the event itself, but it was more about propaganda. Yes. Louis David painted during the Romantic period, and the Romans, as I've spoken of before in this video, were users of this concept of propaganda. The French painters during this time used allegory to gain popularity with the people. This painting was really not an ode to Magritte, really. It was an ode to his cause. breaking down the painting, just because I love this painting so much, you can tell that Magritte was very popular with Louis David. Louis David was respectful of him. You can tell that this painting isn't about suffering, but about a cause, because Magritte's face isn't suffering at all. It's just calm, and he's almost smiling. Charlotte Corday's name is actually, you can see it on the letter. The knife that she stabbed him with is at the bottom of the painting. It's about an idea rather than a person, and that's what I love about it so much. It's just so beautiful. It's a beautiful painting, even though the subject is so dark. So why am I talking about this? Well, from this painting, I got an idea for a new series I want to shoot. I've already shot one of the photos, so I'm going to show it to you now, and you guys are the first people to see it. Here it is. I've titled it Death of a Hipster. As I've stated before, that my style is kind of satirical and has a lot of humor. I've stated that in this video. With this series, I want to make it about the death of stereotypes, and I want to make it funny, and so that's what I've been thinking about this week, and so I just wanted to share it with you and give you a little bit of history and share what I've been working on in my art. That's all I got today. So if you want to subscribe, I can't say the word subscribe. Oh, I just did. Good. You can go to TAKO Art. It's Taco Art. I'll put a link right here. And then if you want to like us on Facebook. Just a heads up, sometime this week, we're going to release a conceptual video, and I hope you like it. It's probably going to be later in the week, so be looking out for that. Thanks for listening, and leave your comments. Thanks. Let me say thanks one more time. Thanks. No, thank you. No. Thanks. Thanks. Thank you. No, really, thank you. Thanks. If you have any ideas for stereotypes I can use in my new series, let me know in the comments. That would be great.